All right, so the next thing we're looking at is the inverse trigonometric functions, inverse trigonometric functions and graphs. So next we're talking about the inverse sine function. This says the inverse sine trigonometric function is represented by sine inverse x or arc sine x. So let f of x be sine of x. Sine inverse of x is equal to arc sine x. So we're talking about the same relations and functions that you would have done, I think, in chapter 6, where to get the inverse of a function, you would reflect the graph of the function in the line y is equal to x. It's the same knowledge. What else? That for a function to have an inverse, it must be bijective, meaning that it must be 1-to-1, which is injective, and it must be surjective or onto. So since the function must be 1-to-1 and onto, arc sine x is defined over the domain. Arc sine x is defined over the range. They say arc sine. It actually should be sine would have to be defined over the range, over the domain less than or equal to pi by 2, which is 90 degrees, and greater than or equal to pi by 2. All right, so y'all remember that the graph of sine actually looks something like this. But as a function, I can't take the entire graph, because if I take the entire graph, first of all, it would not be what? 1-to-1, and it would not be what? Well, it would be onto, but it wouldn't be 1-to-1. So I only have to, so as a function, sine, f of x equal to sine x, where f of x is a function, is defined within a certain range. Sorry, is defined within a certain domain. And the domain is minus pi by 2 to positive pi by 2. And of course, the range is from -1 to +1. This is the graph of sine inverse, which is the reflection of the graph. F of x is equal to sine x in the line y is equal to x. So the general knowledge from functions, relations and functions apply. The cosine graph, the domain for the cosine graph is between 0 and, in order for it to be a function, the domain has to be between 0 and pi. And the range is from -1 to +1. Remember, whenever you find the inverse, the range and the domain interchange. So the domain for cosine inverse is -1 to +1, and the range is between 0 and 180 degrees. Again, I said general knowledge. You can look this over for yourself. General knowledge, your knowledge of relations and functions apply. This is the inverse tangent function. So it's the graph of y is equal to tan x and the graph of tan inverse x. As a function, the domain for tan x is between -90 and +90. The range is -infinity to +infinity. The domain for y is equal to tan inverse is -infinity to +infinity. And the range is minus pi by 2 to positive pi by 2. Again, your general knowledge of relations and functions apply.